everyone, I am Sapna from Cleaning India, and today we are going to have a very informative session on one of the growing industries in India, that is the clinical research industry. So recently we have seen a lot of pharmacy, life science, medical students. They have a growing interest towards this field. So today we have with us one of the industry expertise with us, Mr. Syed Haque, who has an experience of more than 15 years, and it is a great opportunity for us to have this interaction with him today, wherein we will be putting light on the major aspects on clinical data management industry. Hi, hello Mr. Syed.
Hello.
So can you please give us a brief introduction about your experience into this industry and how you have felt the trend is going towards?
Okay. So as you mentioned that clinical research and clinical data management is a unique industry at this point of time, which is currently booming as well. So we have lots of options which are coming in market for the new aspirants, for the newcomers who want to join this industry. So with my experiences, I can tell you that further, because healthcare sector and with the integration of IT industry is doing wonders, and with the approach of new upcoming Hadoop and big data, so we are doing lots of wonders in this particular sector. And specifically speaking, clinical data management is a very upcoming field in this, wherein we are doing lots of inventions and lots of we are trying to play out lots of new models with the integration of the big data analytics. So it's one of the most upcoming industry coming in at this point of time, strategically speaking. So there will be lots of options for the newcomers in this clinical data management industry. So this is an introduction of it, but so it starts from the process actually starts from the clinical research, wherein we enroll the patients and other things, and then it ends up with the statistical analysis. But in between there is a very bridge gap, or very smart gap, wherein the clinical data management plays a very important role, because we do maximum part of validations and the cleaning of the clinical trial data, which will be then handed over to the statisticians for the statistical analysis. So in case if the validations have an impact on the cleaning purpose, so how better we clean, how better we validate, with lots of pros and cons. It's not like that. So in conventionally speaking, in case if I tell you about the validations and other things, so we have lots of new approaches in the data sciences industry at this point of time, wherein we do lots of programming. We take help of the SAS macros, SAS programmers, and lots of inbuilt processes are there, wherein we take lots of help from the centralized monitoring as well in doing the validations. So the lots of innovations are going on at this point of time. So wherein we closely associate with the risk-based monitoring team as well. There is a new model which has come up into the industry at this point of time, which I know maximum people are aware as well. So which is called as the DTE model, data driven trial execution model, wherein we also get help from the remote monitors as well, wherein they come to know, we come to know how the source data verification is going on, we track it, and we do everything from outside in terms of validations.
Okay, that is amazing. So I want to know, as you have said, that we are going to witness a tremendous growth in coming few years. So will it be for in India only, or a student can get a chance to explore these opportunities abroad as well? And also, what is the qualification that is required? So we have seen a lot of candidates have no clue. There is a lack of awareness we can see. So students are always in dilemma whether they should go for SAS or for CDM. So how they should be, decide on this factor?
So logically speaking, to answer to your first question, what is the entry criteria, what is the qualification? So it starts from any life science graduate, whether they are from the field of biotechnology, microbiology, biochemistry, plain life sciences as well, zoology, botany also we take it, and then going more specifically, then we entertain B.Pharm, M.Pharm, PharmDs, and then BDS, doctors, MBBS. So all these are the entry criteria which we entertain. So in case if I tell you, it's overall life sciences,
Okay.
including the domain, majorly the domain of pharmacy, the biotechnology, and complete life sciences plus the medicine. So this is answer to your first question, what you asked. And then what is the scope? That was the second question, that whether we can see the scope in India or outside. So it's an overall field. So it's an overall response in terms of growth. So growth will be, globally, and growth is at present is globally. So in case if I see strategically, if I can tell you the Indian percentage, so the Indian percentage in terms of clinical data management is not very significant at this point of time, but we are doing wonders in clinical data management. So some of the companies are doing lots of innovations. We have lots of companies who are generating the self-made EDC softwares from their side, which is very unique in India, which I have seen because with my past 15 or more than 15 years of experience, I've worked with lots of foreign companies as well. If I tell you foreign companies, then I work with their systems, I work with their processes, I work with their SOPs, I work with their softwares. So what Indian companies are doing at this point of time, the generic based companies, is that they are inventing the new EDC platforms. So we are contributing to it. It's not like that we are not contributing, but the contribution of the Western world is much more at this point of time. So in case your students truly in point of view of your students, so your students will have the overall opportunities in India and as well as options in US and the European markets as well.
Okay, that is great to hear from you. And Mr. Sayed, recently we have done a survey with more than 1,000 students, and we have come across some certain set of questions which our students really want to know. So it will be great if you can help us with those questions.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So the first question that the students want to know actually, so they want to know like what are the different stages we can see in DM process, that is a data management process. So can you put some light on it?
Wonderful. So in the DM process, basically we categorize into three processes or the three categories which you call it, which starts from the study startup activities, and then we go on to the study conduct activities, and finally we go on to the study closeout activities. If I tell you study startup activities, then first we start from the design work. We design the CRF. We designed the initially it was PCRF, paper-based CRF, but now we start from, because we have all EDC studies at this point of time, so we start from the eCRF, electronic case report form. It is nothing but just we create the layout of the databases. So once we create the layout, different companies have different processes for the designing. So some company hire technical designers for designing the layouts of the databases. So truly speaking, it's eCRF design, whether you can call it a database design. And once we design the database with the understanding of protocol, because it's not like the DM people will only be exposed to the design process, this particular technical designer team, but they will also know about the protocol, the study protocol. They will aware about that. Based on that, they will start the designing. So this is how it starts, and then in the meantime, the other group of the DM team would be working on the edit checks and the edit checks. So what are the self-generated checks which they will create from their side based on the protocol, so which to reduce the load or burden of sending the queries to the sites. So in case if you are very good in that particular therapeutic area, based on your experience, you design two types of things. First is called as the SEC document, which we call it a self-evident correction document. So suppose I am working in an oncology study from past 10 years. So I know what is going to come in oncology study, whether it's a breast cancer study, it's a malignant lung cancer study or whatsoever, or it's a prostate cancer studies, whatsoever, any cancer study. So since I'm an expert and SME into the oncology, so I know what are the parameters which will be dealt for the oncology parameters. So I will keep out those things, and based on that design, I will create certain checks. I will create certain checks from my side, which is called as self-evident correction document. So that since I am aware, I will let my team aware about those checks, and then we will not be sending so many queries. It's very irritating for the investigators or the team of investigators whenever you increase the load of queries to them. So this is a recommendation from the sponsor, which I have seen always, not from this time only, but long, so that what you do from your side, what innovations, what research you do from your side, so that you reduce the load of queries, because every query is a billable item. It is charged. So we do this. So as an expert, we create this, and then in the meantime, we also create the edit checks. So whenever the entry is done at the site by the investigators, so the investigators will have lots of problems from their side. So we are not physically present there. DM team is not physically present there. So thinking us that we are there, we create certain checks. So whenever, suppose you are an investigator and you are writing something, you are typing the patient's data, and in case if that patient data is not correct, it is not relevant when you are typing, so the system will throw up an error to you, because we have created a check and we have programmed it. So you will get some certain checks, you will get, and then you will be forced to correct that. So based on that, and when this goes on, and when the SDV is complete by the monitors, so once we then the database is accessed to the data managers. So data managers would do their conventional data cleaning activities, which is the discrepancy management. So in case if they find uh, any problematic data, any data with certain reasoning or certain logic, they use their reasoning and logic or logical way of approach. Data management is not a lot of rocket science. It's a very simple way wherein how logical you are, how your thinking is there. So then they will initiate that, and then they will, in case if they find any problem, they will raise queries to the investigators. Now there are different aspects to it as well. So queries will not always go to the investigators, because we have lab vendors as well, where we have central labs and local labs. Based on the sponsors, they select central and local labs. So queries for the lab related things, when they are doing the special process which is called as lab data reconciliation, the queries would go to the lab vendors. So that because the samples were shipped to the site, from the site to the lab vendors. So site is no more aware about the lab results. So all those queries will be handled by the lab vendors. So these are the specific things and very critical things which play a very vital important role in the clinical data management. And then we go ahead with a very important thing again. So the critical data. So critical data is all the adverse events and serious adverse events assays which we encounter during the trial are called as the critical data points. So we estimate the industry benchmark for all the critical data points is that we do not support any, we expect the 0% error rate. That is, the quality level should be 100% for those critical data points. So we examine very carefully. There's a specific process for that which is called as SA reconciliation, or we also call it as safety data management or serious adverse event reconciliation, wherein sponsor is maintaining the Argus very famous software at this point of time for the safety handling. So and then lab data, data managers will reconcile the data between the clinical database CDMS and between the safety database. In case if they find any queries, they will revert it back for that. So after doing all these processes, in the meantime QC will go on, and after making sure that we achieve the error rate of 0%, which is the benchmark. So then probably we go ahead and by checking the having a certain checklist, then we go ahead and then we find out that okay, we have no errors, and then we log the database. So this is how the complete journey starts and ends. So I told you the complete summary, wherein I also covered the startup activities, I also covered the conduct activities, and also covered your closeout activities. So the initial activities wherein we design and create the layout and create the checks and programs where study startup. The conduct where the data managers were raising the queries, there was the conduct part, and the closeout part was the part where the audit was done, the QC was done, the quality assurance audits were done, and the database was finally logged with a consent that we don't have any errors with a 0% error rate. So that is ready and present for the statisticians to give it, so that we don't have errors, and then your analysis would be 100% correct analysis.
Okay.
It's complete.
Sure. So, as I can assume that this is a very complex process and it requires a lot of, insights into a particular knowledge is also required. So, may I know how much time does a particular DM process takes for a particular study after drug discovery?
So once the drug is discovered, so we don't start immediately.
Okay.
So there are lots of things which goes on after approval. We have the application, the IND application, and the application goes on and the process goes on. And then once the sponsor thinks of starting the trial, starting from the phase 1, because we start the human trials at phase 1. So then we come into picture and we start the DM process would start from phase 1 and continue to all the phases.
Okay, understood. And after that, the next question we have is, can you give me an insight on the main aim of CDM activities? Like, why is it necessary to conduct, and what if we don't go for it?
Yeah, so there's no question of not going for it, Sapna. We have to go for it.
So it has to be there.
Yeah, it has to be there, because suppose think of a very general scenario, because your question was very generalized. So suppose you go to a market and purchase something.
Okay.
So until and unless you are not assured about the quality of that product, you would not like to purchase it. So the sponsors, the strategically speaking, the pharma companies, the R&D companies, they are spending huge amount of money. You cannot imagine that money. They are spending huge amount of money, not only in the clinical trials at the start, but before that itself, during the drug discovery and development process, wherein they identify, they spend so much money to their R&D labs, for discovering a single molecule which is called as lead compound. And once that lead compound is identified, then other process starts. Then
Okay.
they start with the preclinical trials, and then phase 1 starts. Whatever process they start, so every process is considered in other way. I can say it's a corrupt process in case you do not bring the CDM part into it. Because if you don't bring the CDM part into it, your machinery is not complete because the data is not qualitative.
Right.
You will get nothing out of this because these statisticians are mere statisticians, they are mere mathematicians. They do not understand exactly, some of them may be understanding, I do not want to say for everybody. So in general, what is my experience, so these statisticians are will not go in deep into the clinical endpoints. What is the primary endpoint of this study, what is the secondary endpoint of this study, why we are doing these studies, what is the objective. So we know it because we are trained for it. So being a life science and plus wherein you play a picture of DM role, you do it everything ready-made for the statisticians, and their work is only to dump the data into the into the SAS software and get the analysis wherein they will derive their use their own mathematical logic, the p-value significance and other things, wherein they derive that yes, your IND sponsor, for a sponsor I'm telling your IND is working well against the comparator, whether it's a placebo or whether it's a active comparator. So DM industry plays a very important role. Your complete trial is incomplete without the DM industry and without the DM domain, because you're not able to validate your records actually.
Okay. So the next question is, I have also heard of data validation. So I just want to know what exactly it is.
Yeah, as I explained you earlier, data validation is a very simple thing wherein we do the data cleaning. So we make sure that whatever the data is received from the site. So nowadays we are getting it from the investigators because they are having all the patient records, they are entering it from their side. Initially also when we released the database in production to them, we created the edit checks. I told you earlier that we created the edit checks. So that was also a part of validation.
Okay.
Because I programmed it. At the back end, my programmers programmed it. So whenever they're doing any wrong entry, it's giving a pop-up in their window. They're not able to read, but that's only for one data point, which we call it, some people call it univariate, some people call it some other thing as well. So, but what about the things which pop-ups which are done, they're not able to get it up. So those we are going to clean from our side, and then we have certain processes. We have a list of activities wherein we first thing is that we create a whole plan, which is called as DMP, data management plan, where we write everything. We get the sign-offs from the sponsor that this is the thing which are going to follow for the complete study, start to end. So we do it as per it, and the validations are the actual cleaning activities, actually discrepancy management, wherein we identify the discrepancies, we raise the queries, we make an alert, and until and unless we don't get a favorable response, the resolution, we do not update that into the database.
Okay. Okay.
Where whatsoever, in case we are going to re-query it or two times, three times, but we make sure that we have everything documented, because at the end of the day we are all auditable.
Understood.
Inspections are going to happen. So in case somebody some inspections are going to happen, so they will ask how this query was resolved. So we get it because we have the knowledge on that particular subject, so we get it how is the quality of the resolution, and then we close it. So it's a complete journey how the validation starts. So in this journey, so earlier introduction what I covered, lab data reconciliation, safety data reconciliation, medical coding, which is a very important part. So wherein we have different terms and we code it a single term, which is called as the preferred term, via MEDRA for the adverse events and medical history, and via WHDD for the concomitant medications. So this again to remove the ambiguity that and to clean the data that we are coding into one term. So these are the different roles which we do in the discrepancy management and data validation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So also, can you please give me a description of overall process of the database lock in CDM?
Yeah. So database lock is the last milestone which we do from our side before locking the database. So that's the final closeout. We are going to end up our own activities. So to make sure that everything was done well, so first of all, the thing is that we create a checklist. So we create a checklist. In that checklist, we write all those points. So what we are going to achieve, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have no errors. So errors are 0% and our quality of 100% is achieved. Then we'll go ahead with this milestone of lock. Now, in case of EDC, the process freezing comes first, and then finally we lock the complete database. So locking means, so we have done all validations, we have done the complete cleaning, there are no more discrepancies at this point of time, there are not a single outstanding queries. For that we have not got the resolution, we got the resolution of everything, and then all medical coding of all the terms, specifically the adverse events and medical history and complications, is complete. There are no more pending terms for the coding to be done. And then we have done the complete lab data reconciliation, wherein we have found out that there are no errors between the CDMS, the clinical database, and the lab database. And then we have also done the safety data reconciliation, wherein we have raised queries in case if we got a dissimilarity between the clinical database serious adverse events which are noted and the SE database, RBS database data points which are noted. So everything is done, and then finally we do the audits. So audits have different levels. So generally a company has a QA department, wherein QA department internal auditors will come and audit us. So QC is ongoing. QC is ongoing process which is going on from the initial itself when we started the study. So we randomly pick a certain number of samples and then we do the QC. But at the end of the day, this quality assurance audit will be done, and they will give us, in case we have some of the findings, so they will give us some of the findings, observations in various categories, which are like, observational findings, minor findings, major findings, and critical findings. So based on that, we will provide them response, and then we will take the sign off. We'll take sign off from all the stakeholders, whether it's a monitoring, whether it's a monitoring representative, whether it's a sponsor representative, whether it's a clinical representative. So statisticians, medical coders who were involved in our study, we'll take a final sign off, and we'll inform them that this is the date when we are going to declare audit. Suppose today's date is 9th of January 2019. So when I'm declaring this 9th of January 2019, 9th of January 2019 is my last database lock date. So it's the date when I'm going to complete my complete milestone. So this reminder is already with them from past some time, right? So they are aware, and then finally when this day comes, before this 1 or 2 days, I'm taking a final sign off that nothing is pending from anybody's end. And then everybody is going to give me sign off, including the sponsors, representatives, and everybody. And then I declare a time when I inform my database administrator to revoke the access of all the users, wherein nobody will be able to do any modifications, any edits, any deletions, any more changes. And there's the final database lock, and then this is, we complete our milestone with a assurance that everything was dealt well. There is a 0% error rate and quality level of 100% is achieved in this milestone.
So thank you so much, Mr. Syed. I hope this will be very informative to our students as well as to other aspirants who are looking forward to make their career into this industry. And also I would like to inform all of you that in future also, if you have any query, you want to ask any questions, then we would be inviting such faculties from industries and will be getting your queries resolved. Thank you.
Thank you.